Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Audio Tools Explained. I hope you guys are getting ready for the holidays because I am. God damn it, I love Christmas. But before we get into the prime time of the holiday season, I want to teach y'all a little something about vocoders. So let's get right into it. So let's get right into the fun stuff. So, by definition, a vocoder is blah blah blah, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know, no one's gonna read that. A vocoder is basically a really cool sort of hardware or software that you will use to code your voice in different ways. You can use external noise to code your voice, or you can use the built-in coding that will sometimes come with a vocoder to code your voice in very oftentimes very cool and unique ways. It was originally invented a long time ago, before it started getting used in music naturally, but because it made such an amazing sort of audio effect, it got implemented into music right away. You may be more familiar with the vocoder sound if you've ever listened to any Daft Punk at all. Or if you've watched anything from the Star Wars universe, you'll be very familiar with how the droids sound.
It's RB551. No wonder he got blasted.
Both of these effects are examples of where a vocoder was used to code or modulate the audio of the person speaking to create a very unique sort of sound. It can create a very wide variety of amazing effects to add to your audio. It can also add to your tools as a sound designer tenfold just because of the options it provides. And you also don't have to be limited by using it on a voice either to achieve a desired effect. You can use a vocoder on any sort of audio you want to create any sort of sound you might desire. You can use it to create these really cool synthy style of effects that you might find in robot or futuristic weapons. And you can use it to create robotic speech very easily, and you can even implement it musically very easily, as we saw in the video of Daft Punk. Now for today's video, we're going to be working in Ableton again because Ableton has this very nice stock vocoder plugin. I've loaded up a couple channels, recorded in some audio and MIDI for the demonstration, but first let's go through the controls. These controls might not be standard across all vocoding plugins or hardware, as this is more of a creative style plugin. However, some of it will be similar, and hopefully this will prepare you for using one in the future. As you can see on the left, you have some modulation options to use to control the modulation style with different carriers. You can modulate it with noise, you can modulate with an external source, you can modulate with a modulator, or you can use pitch tracking. Beside this, you have the enhance feature, which can be seen here, which you can basically toggle to add a little extra brightness to your sound, adds in a little bit of high end, because pushing your audio through a vocoder can sometimes degrade the high end of your range. Down below that, you have an unvoiced control and a sensitivity control and a fast slow button. All these can be seen here for controlling the amount of coding the software will apply to the audio. Down here, it can control the number of bands the vocoder will use while it's coding your audio, as well as a frequency range control, as well as a bandwidth control in the middle, which will kind of control the width of each band and the amount of frequencies included. You do also have some standard gate controls, which you can use to gate the audio as it's coming in. Very useful if you want to cut out some of the quieter sounds from being coded and affected. On the right, you have depth, which kind of sets the amount of the modulator's amplitude envelope is applied to the original carrier signal. At 0%, the envelope is discarded. At 200%, the amplitude peaks. Basically, it'll get quieter or it'll get louder. This can also be used to create some cool distortion effects inside of the vocoder. However, normally it's a good option to keep it right in the middle at 100%. This is usually the more classic style of vocoding. You also have attack and release controls. These are similar to attack and release controls on a compressor. They will be controlling how fast or slow the vocoder applies and releases its modulation on the audio. And you also have a formant control, which you can use to change the pitch of the audio that's being affected by the vocoder. We'll demonstrate more on this later. Now, to really show you some of the uses you can use for a vocoder, I've recorded in a short clip of the worst vocals you will have ever heard. Really, really horrible vocals. But using a vocoder You don't necessarily need to be a good singer or have really in-tune samples, and that's one of the strengths of this plugin as well, is if you are an artist who is aspiring to create a sound like Daft Punk or some sort of similar singing style, and you're worried that you're not really a good singer, you can actually use the vocoder to tune your vocals to specific notes when it's coding in your audio, which I will demonstrate shortly. I've also added a vocoder on here, and below this I have two different sort of midied in sort of synth effects. I have this pluck, and I have this sort of more bassy pad. Now I've set my vocoder's carrier to external and set it to this sort of bassy pad I just showed you, and we're about to see how this is going to affect our audio. Listen to this. Now that sounds nothing like the original sound of the sort of bassy pluck, and it also sounds nothing like my vocals. You can still kind of hear my voice in there going ah, but you can't really hear the sort of human aspect for it. It sounds robotic, but it also sounds very cool. You can already see where this can be taking us for future applications. Using a vocoder, I can make my voice or I can make it sound like this. Or this. Or this. Some really cool effects in here. And it doesn't even stop there. With the amount of external sources you can map it to, you can basically make your voice or any sample be modulated by that other sample and create these amazing new sounds and effects that normally wouldn't be possible through regular synthesis techniques or other effects. I was also just showing you a lot of vocoder effects that were made using the external carrier, but what if we use something like pitch tracking? Well, it kind of acts a little bit like pitch correction in softwares like Neutron or Melodyne, but with a twist. I bet you like the sound of my voice now, don't you? You can really create a lot of robotic or synthetic kind of sounds, so it's a really great tool if you're making anything that's in an EDM genre, or if you're making anything like futuristic sound effects, robotic sound effects, anything that requires a sort of digital aspect to it. And remember that Foreman knob I mentioned earlier? Well, let's go back to my original track up here where I have it routed to this sort of bassy pad, and I'll turn the Foreman up a little bit while I apply my own voice. I've moved my previously recorded sample off to the side, and I'm just kind of screaming to this mic here while I adjust the Foreman while it's playing this line, and you can hear what it's doing more effectively. As you can see, this is already opening up a huge realm of possibilities, and it can be an amazing tool to add to your arsenal, whether you get it as a stock plugin, a third-party plugin, a piece of interesting software, or otherwise. I hope you guys found this video useful and informative as always. This is probably one of my more favorite plugins to use when I'm looking to just be creative and figure out some cool shit, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. If you have a stock version available, I hope you do. If not, there are versions out there available. I'll also be linking the wiki page below that I showed earlier so that you can do a little bit of your own research as well. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week, enjoy your Wednesday, and I will see you guys next time. Have a good one.